Supriya Bhardwaj joins us. She tracks Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party for us. Aishwarya Paliwal joins us from the Aam Aadmi Party office. Supriya is listening intently to this. She has a smile on her face. Supriya, good morning. Is the Congress looking at these results, or are they just hoping that these results are all wrong and then they can put out all the clips we put out, make them viral, say, dekho, ye kya bol rahe the, now they're all wrong?
Well, as far as Congress party is concerned, this time they are hyper alert. They are not just alert, they are hyper alert, and they are going to drive the car in a very fast pace because they've already landed a battery of leaders in Goa, in Uttarakhand, in Punjab, and as well as that in Manipur also. What is really interesting this time is that Congress party has also done some experiment. It is also trying to reinvent itself, as we were just discussing. There was Priyanka Gandhi Vadra in Uttar Pradesh making a promise of 40% tickets to the women voters. After the results, after the polling got over on 7th, she was back in Uttar Pradesh on 8th itself, the Women's Day, and there was a marathon which was done by the Congress party in Lucknow with a message that the battle for 2024 is over. She is not going, 2022 is over and battle for 2024 is going to start, and she's not going anywhere and she'll keep coming back into Uttar Pradesh. Now, this is one very interesting thing which has happened as far as Congress party is concerned in UP, because people have started talking about the Congress in the state of Uttar Pradesh, where the cadre was missing. We have started seeing that a lot of people are coming in places also where there was no cadre from a very long time, like more than 3 decades. The Congress wasn't there at ground level in a big fashion. They were not in the power also. But now Priyanka Gandhi has tried to set up a complete booth management as well as an organization in UP, and we have to see as to how the dividends are going to pay when the results will be out. At the same time, as far as Punjab is concerned,
you have to give Priyanka Gandhi some credit. I mean, whether she wins or she loses, she's not going to win. She will lose badly, but you have to give her credit for trying. She put her skin in the game. She tried.
Absolutely. I think you know what she gave is at least energize the Congress's traditional cadres. And one of the interesting possibilities, and you know, politics is full of possibilities. If the Samajwadi Party gets this 4th consecutive defeat, the BSP loses 5 consecutive defeat, it opens up an opposition space. Then if you're willing to stay in the Maidan, I believe if Priyanka Gandhi were to shift to Lucknow, you see, you have to be in Lucknow. If she had fought this election as some wanted against Yogi Adityanath in Gorakhpur, it would have galvanized your flock more. You can't do backseat driving, you can't do sort of remote control politics anymore. What Modi and Amit Shah have done, whether you like them or don't like them, they've done what Virat Kohli has done to cricket. I love the cricket analogy. You cannot play Indian cricket now unless you pass the yo-yo test. You can be the most talented cricketer, but unless you do the yo-yo test, you can't really play for India. Similarly, unless you're willing to do the hard yards 365 days and consistently build your organization. You know, we look at leaders, Yogi ji, Modi ji, look at leaders. At the end of the day, it's the organization. But this is where you've got to give Kejriwal some credit.
No, but
5 years ago,
what you're saying, one second,
yes.
on the Congress, they had a chance in Punjab before they blew it up. They had a chance in Uttarakhand.
We don't know whether they've blown it up yet, but okay, likely,
yes. They had
yes.
a chance in Uttarakhand and they had a chance in Goa. Strategically, if you're going to concentrate your effort, you concentrate it where there's an opportunity of a good harvest.
Excellent
you're making
point.
so much of an effort in Uttar Pradesh where the field is fallow and the possibility of a good harvest is very limited. Where you should have fought with your life, as if your life depended on it. You didn't fight, except amongst yourselves.
You know, in an ideal world, someone like Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, who seems to be a very effective communicator, should have spent more time in Goa, should have spent more time in Uttarakhand, a state where, as you're right, you know, it was a very fertile environment to actually capitalize on anti-incumbency. I'll be interested to know, if the BJP wins Uttarakhand, has it ever happened, and Rahul may know this, has it ever happened that you've changed 3 chief ministers in the last year before elections and won an election? I don't think it's ever happened in the history. So Uttarakhand was a fertile place for the Congress to put a lot of energies. Punjab, if you had to remove Captain Amrinder, my view is you do it at least a year, 18 months before. Not since PC Sethi in 1973 has a chief minister been changed 4 months before an election and you won an election. And yes, even in my tiny Goa, you could have placed a little bit more emphasis on those critical marginal seats. So you're right. Should you have invested as much in UP? Maybe you're looking at long term, fair enough, but you could have also spent more time in the other three
but
states.
you know, Rahul Gandhi made a point to somebody else that he is eating an ice cream. That image was put out yesterday.
This is in Kerala.
He said to someone that what I'm doing is I'm shaking off the old leaves and a new tree will emerge. And the other person who was listening to Rahul Gandhi say this thought to himself, but new leaves will emerge if there is a tree left. Yes, you're shaking off the dead leaves, and you think that new leaves will come, which is, so he's very ideological,
He
very
himself is a
philosophical.
dead leaf. Why does he not understand that? He himself is that dead leaf which is just clinging on without any
See,
grounds.
Rajdeep, I think
Yes.
what is very important for the Congress in UP or in the country is that the Congress needs to decide what it stands for on lot many issues. What is prevailing in UP, the Congress has to come in terms with the current politics. It cannot fight politics with the chashmas of 1970s and 80s.
But you know, I'll tell you what, Rajdeep and I were at Rahul Gandhi's residence once in his lawns out in the heat, where he said, you know, the
2012, exactly 10 years ago.
He basically made the point that the machine exists. We just need to crank it into, you know, shape. That you just do a little bit tweak. Remember his words were nuts. So you tweak with the nuts and bolts, and life springs back. It's not like that any longer. You have to fight like your life depends on it. You may still win, you may lose. Like Mamata Banerjee fought hard, she got punched, she punched back. That's the way to fight the BJP. You can't fight by going once in a while, speak, batao har shada kya ho. You can't fight like that.
No, I think
He's not showing that hunger to fight in this fashion.
I'll bring in the other Rahul in because I think politics has become much more strategic than it's ever been before. It is much more micromanagement, booth management, WhatsApp management, media management. You know, the old style, you went in a few days before, had this large rally, did a photo op with a Dalit family, wo nahi chalta hai. Ye up 365 days, when I say it doesn't mean that you have to only be obsessed with politics 365 days, but you have to think strategically. Idealism needs to be matched with strategy. Otherwise, it collapses somewhere down the line. But yes, Rahul, you've been writing on the Congress, and it appears that the party is, as I said, in ICU, but still can be reinvented provided it is willing to do the hard yards.
True. See, political parties as old as Congress go through a period of slump. If you look at examples from Canada or Malaysia and other places, or even
Labour,
Britain,
New Labour, UK.
right? So new Labour. So reinvention happens with political parties. But I also want to basically take one point, which is politics happens in a moment of time, and which is very, very important. If Viren Sehwag or Rohit Sharma or someone is batting, in full form, no matter where you ball, they are going to hit it to the boundary. And so I'm not saying Congress should not fight hard, do all the hard work, but there are moments in political time that no matter what you do, it won't land up.
Can I counter and add to what you're saying by saying that Labour becomes new Labour when it transforms to a new leadership. You keep taking a discarded, defeated leadership back to the people, you'll have the same result. Kejriwal and AAP work because they're seen as a breath of fresh air. Rahul Gandhi and the Gandhi dynasty, which was once the Congress's greatest asset, is no longer an asset because people have looked at it, they don't like it. There's a new aspirational India,
I agree
which is obvious as day, but the Congress doesn't realize it. At least the Gandhi family doesn't realize it.
This is the job of Congress party and Congress leadership to basically discard Rahul Gandhi and Gandhi family and move ahead. Nobody gives power to other person. Power has to be taken. So if Congress leadership and base thinks that Gandhi family is not how they should move ahead, then there should be a shake-up within the party.
You know, easier said than done, because at the moment it seems Rahul Gandhi lives by na banunga na banne dunga in terms of Congress leadership. That's one line
Rajdeep,
there. But there's also a sense that, let's be honest, it's not as if there's some magic wand there that if Rahul Gandhi tomorrow quits the Congress, if these results are as bad, suddenly the Congress will recover. My point is different. As Rahul said, there's a cycle. Think about this. We were sitting in the studio 2012 UP. The BJP got only 15% of the vote. Think about 2009. The BJP was decimated almost in a general election. People were saying 2014 to ho gaya. Ab to Congress hi aayegi. In politics, and then Anna Hazare happens, Modi happens, and the climate changes. So the BJP...
It got rid of Advani.
You see,
the climates don't change. You have to find somebody who can make the climate change
in politics
by putting up a fight. If Agarkar bowls to Vivian Richards is going to hit him out of the park. You get a top fast bowler to come in and bowl. pick anyone, take an Ambrose for example, Vivian Richards has also struggled. You have to find the right opponent to get under the other person's skin, which is why Kejriwal gets under the skin of the BJP. Rahul Gandhi simply doesn't, because they love to take him on. That's the reality, except that nobody outside the studio or television seems to get it, or at least in the Congress party they don't get it, the rest of the country does, which is just the way it's been for several years. I want to go across to Kamaljeet Sandhu. She joins us from Dhuri in Sangrur, which is where Bhagwant Mann, who's been MP twice over, is fighting his first MLA election. We've spoken so much of Yogi Adityanath in Uttar Pradesh. Bhagwant Mann, the champion of the Malwa belt in Punjab. And remember, Kamaljeet was traveling all through Punjab. Give our viewers a sense of what's happening in the Bhagwant Mann and Kejriwal camp this morning. Kamaljeet, good morning.
Good morning, Rahul. Good morning from Sangrur. Posters come up, flowers being decked. So the preparations being done by the Aam Aadmi Party. We will see which way it goes. The exit poll, especially the India Today Access poll, has made the Aam Aadmi Party very happy. They are ready with their celebrations, but we will see how it goes.
Thanks, Kamaljeet. Let's spend a moment talking about what happens to the Aam Aadmi Party and whether Bhagwant Mann can deliver. That's the critical question. Preeti, you track the AAP very closely. He claims to be a reformed person. Is he seriously not drinking anymore? And is the AAP petrified that their worst nightmare is the Chief Minister showing up drunk on some public event?
You know, Rahul, at least where the voters of Punjab are concerned, the drinking problem or the fact that he's reformed is not an issue with the voter of Punjab. If you actually ask the voter, you know, the number of times I got, "Ji, kya problem? यहाँ पे सभी के मुँह लाल रहते हैं." So as long as he delivers, he needs to deliver.
No, but look at the other opponents also, without taking any names. If you look at who he's up against, everyone has the same issue. And in any case, in Punjab, it's not thought of, as Preeti says, as much of an issue. When we were traveling across the state, you asked somebody, but what about his drinking problem? You know, they have this really wry smile on their face and they say, but what's the big deal?
But he's very popular, Rahul. The fact is, you know, what the Aam Aadmi Party got right was to announce his name when they did. So the biggest issue in 2017 was, which many, you know, later on, you know, the likes of you sat down in studios and said that it peaked too early. The campaign of the Aam Aadmi Party peaked too early. And by the time, you know, it came down to voting, there was something which went down. But the timing, they've got the timing right. They announced the name of Bhagwant Mann at the right time, and he was wildly popular on ground. You were there in one of his road shows, Rahul. You know, and you saw the support was organic. Young people coming out, families coming out.
He's rip-roaringly funny. He cracks people up. The question is, can he attend to the minutiae of governance? Remember,
the question is, will Kejriwal allow him?
In poetry, you govern.
Will Kejriwal allow him to run his government? That is, if it is true.
Remember, it's a fact of life that you campaign in poetry, you govern in prose. And that requires files, it requires notings, it requires detail to a minutiae. Does Bhagwant Mann have what it takes to get into files? Okay, now the joke's over, you've cracked people up, they've had a good laugh. Sit in an office with your bureaucrats, Modi, Yogi, both, from morning till till late into the evening, sitting on files, working on numbers. Can he do it? That's the question.
It's a very interesting thing that you're saying. Let me tell you a story. When Mr. Modi went in 2001 October to Gujarat, someone said the same thing to me. Arey, wo pracharak hai. He has no experience of administration. How will Mr. Modi be able to administer a state? One thing being an RSS pracharak, general secretary, another thing being an administrator. People surprised. I'm not saying that Bhagwant Mann will, you know, be an effective chief minister.
He's waited for it. He has waited for it. He's put in.
Hard. She's right.
You know, let's look at 2017.
And he's done a decent job, you know, as a parliamentarian.
True.
We often don't know Bhagwant Mann has made some very effective interventions in parliament.
Aishwarya Paliwal joins us from the AAP office in Delhi. Aishwarya, good morning. We're discussing the Aam Aadmi Party. Are the laddus, the mithais, the firecrackers out? Are they just trying to be very cool this morning?
Hi Rahul, a very good morning to you too. You know, I'll just show you around what's happening at the Aam Aadmi Party. The laddus are not yet made, and I think the reason for that is because the party wants the counting to begin. We did see in the past how they were very happy, but the results did not turn out the way they want to do it. The balloons are up. The color you see, you know, people all around, there's a lot of frenzy here in the Delhi office. You know, the color of the balloons, white and blue, the color of the party. The flowers are all out. The decorations are taking place. Majority of the workers are very happy, very enthusiastic. In fact, you know, they have made a stage also. We are expecting Arvind Kejriwal, the Chief Minister, to come to the party office around 12 today. For now, all that you see here is the frenzy and the enthusiasm that all the workers of Aam Aadmi Party have. They are all hoping for the exit polls to be right and for the party to make the government. Rahul.
In 2017, and the balloons were up and speeches, they had thought they had won this election.
Yes.
And when the writing on the wall was 20, within 5 minutes, everything came down. So they're being very tepid. They're watching this very closely. Though at Bhagwant Mann's residence, once again, the langar is on from the morning.
This side, can 2022 be 2017? Let's be clear. In Punjab, almost every exit poll, even in 2017, gave AAP the big victory, and then we saw what happened. Do you believe that there is any possibility of that happening again? Sukhbir Singh Badal has said yesterday, ban all exit polls. These exit polls are completely, unacceptable. Can it change, or do you believe AAP is almost there in Punjab?
Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I think the chances of this happening this time is very, very low. And there are reasons for it. One, the consensus among pollsters. Two, I think what AAP got another 5 years to basically not just campaign and build itself, but basically the Congress party is not as strong as it was in 2017. The face of Congress party, Captain Amrinder Singh, who was the chief minister for 4.5 years, has left, joined another party. Akali BJP coalition has broken off. So many of these factors have basically, and then 10 years of incumbency against both Akalis as well as Congress, has created a condition where AAP can move in and take advantage of the situation. Whether they will get simple majority or get 90 seats, that's another.
How important is this a day, therefore, to define the opposition space? That you have a new challenger emerge. We saw Mamata Banerjee triumph in Bengal 6 months ago, MK Stalin in Tamil Nadu, Vijayan in Kerala. Could Arvind Kejriwal do what the others could not, actually expand beyond his own state? Because he's not really, in that sense, a regional party.
Rajdeep, this is going back to the question you asked earlier. I think today's results will define in critical ways who would be the main challengers to the BJP in the 2 years ahead. I think the discussion we have had on the Congress party, where the Congress does not seem to be able to prove its role as a challenger, be it in Punjab, we don't know what would happen in Manipur and Goa. So I think the situation seems to be ripe for that opposition space to have new challengers come in, be it the Aam Aadmi Party, be it other state-based parties. I think we are seeing a trend of the opposition to the BJP emerging through very, very powerful state-based parties. And this, I think, is an important trend we will see.
Where do you place the Aam Aadmi Party in that? As a state-based party or a party with the potential to grow beyond a state? Because Arvind Kejriwal is not locked into a particular caste or regional identity. Do you see him moving beyond?
Today may prove that it is a two-state party, and with time it could emerge as a multi-state party. Now, at least the opportunity has come today, and you are seeing that moment where you are moving from a single state to two states, and this could be a starting point of moving into several other states.
Yes, Rajat. Do you see Arvind Kejriwal? The question that is asked, is the BJP more scared of a rising Kejriwal than, as Rahul calls him, a dormant Rahul Gandhi?
So 2-3 things to unpack here. First thing is that Aam Aadmi Party will become that first opposition party other than the Congress party which has reached beyond one state. No other party has been able to do that successfully. TMC tried really hard in Goa, but we all know what happened to DMC there. And I think Kejriwal's stake to be the opposition leader will grow stronger. But why BJP would be happy about it is that you will see further fragmentation of the opposition. There will be more and more claimants in that space.
I guarantee to you the BJP doesn't want AAP to do well, okay? It is their worst nightmare. And Arvind Kejriwal, with the opportunity to run a full state, Delhi, remember, his hands are tied behind the back. Here, from law and order to infrastructure, if he's actually able to go out and put out a different model of governance, different from what the Congress has done, different from what the BJP is doing, that the BJP doesn't want. They'll never say it on camera. Arvind Kejriwal gets under the skin of the BJP leadership like nobody in the Congress does. They don't want Punjab to be won by the AAP, except that a big victory in UP will say, okay, what can we do? It's the Congress that's losing. It's not really our fault. We've done well for ourselves. Now, if AAP is coming, dekhi jaogi, we'll take them out.
You know, there are 2 points to it. One, Arvind Kejriwal doesn't come with some of the baggage the Congress comes. Let's be fair to this generation of congressmen. Whenever you talk to them, people will say, "Arey, but wo corruption tab hua tha, aapne kya kiya 70 saalon mein?" So the Congress comes with the baggage. Number 2,
this one, counting is about to
okay,
start.
counting is about to start. So we can discuss the Aam Aadmi Party and much more later. Remember, if the Aam Aadmi Party expands into states.
7,
6,
5, 4,
3,
2,
1.
That's nice. I see our producers have their production act in order. Very fancy.
This is T20 style. Let's play.
I saw it in the cricket match. Yeah,
you got the final one is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then they say let's play.
So let's count this morning.
So let's count. That's right. It's begun the electronic voting machines. Remember, over the next 45 minutes, you'll get a lot of postal ballots. Don't use those as a barometer for what's likely to happen. It'll take a little bit of time. These are only going to be the first few overs. So give it a little bit of time before truly the campaign or the EVMs really take off and tell us the trends of this election. The point I just wanted to make was, if Kejriwal does well today, he will then go into Himachal, he will then go into Gujarat, all states where the Congress is the principal challenger. Who does he damage in the first instance? The Congress. Because even in Gujarat, the BJP has its 48-50% vote. In Goa, what is happening in Goa, Rahul? It is Kejriwal, Mamata Banerjee, all eating into the Congress vote. So a rising Kejriwal will worry not just the BJP, but frankly, in the short run, it should worry the Congress even more.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Rahul, Rajdeep, what I want to say is that Rahul is right when he says that the BJP really doesn't like Arvind Kejriwal rising, primarily because he has got a capacity to get under the skin, as he said. He can, today it is in Punjab, tomorrow it can be Gujarat, then it can be Uttar Pradesh, where the opposition is losing ground vis-a-vis the BJP. The people may start looking at Kejriwal as the next alternative. But Kejriwal's rise also creates a problem of having too many of opposition leaders wanting to occupy that central space at the head of the pack of opposition parties. That splintering of opposition, that they all may not ever come together, will actually worsen, because Congress, at least, by being a pan-national party, has a much better position to be in the front of the pack.
The answer that I get, and it's a fair answer, no one has the divine right to claim I am the dominant party of the opposition. Whether it's then an Asaduddin Owaisi, Arvind Kejriwal, everyone has a right to reach out to their voters. But to
That's
take Rahul's
Sawant
point,
from Panjim.
the only hope for Pramod
Most
Sawant,
messy state when it comes to Indian politics. Rajdeep won't like it, but when it comes to politics, most messy state. You know, a pollster who was polling in Goa told me that it's the most complicated state to do polling in, because the margins are so small and people don't go by ideology or where they want to go, but by the candidate who's helped them, say for example, get a land registration done. Like, people have personally benefited from somebody or the other, and that's where their vote goes.
Rahul,
I love Goa. I'm not saying it a bad way. I love Goa, but that's just the reality.
I'll tell you why. We Goans know how to enjoy life. We have got much more in our lives than Kaun Banega Neta, unlike all of you in North India and Uttar Pradesh. हमारी जिंदगी में और बहुत कुछ है. Fish है, football है, फेनी भी है. We have other things to enjoy in life. Now you people want to know Kaun Banega Mukhyamantri. Go and say, as long as the price of fish is kept under control, Kaun Banega Mukhyamantri, we will see later. But I do believe that this time there was anti-incumbency, particularly because of COVID mishandling and COVID mismanagement, and tourism and mining are two big sort of job creators, are both in the doldrums.
That's Pramod Sawant there, the 11th Chief Minister of Goa, 48 years old. He's contested from the Sankulam seat.
And I can tell you a little bit of it. Yesterday there was a late night meeting, we are told, between the BJP and the MGP, the regional party that could hold the key. They have said apparently off record, that yes, we could consider supporting you, but you have to change the CM.
Who do they want?
That they actually want to be themselves the CM.
No, but there are 3 or 4 seats. Where will they become?
Boss, in Goa is like once Jharkhand Madhu Koda, single man became CM. This time Sudhin Davlikar wants to be king. Bahut ho gaya kingmaker.
No, and we have a potential chief ministerial candidate in our studio as well. His country cousin is Vijay Sardesai is there, so we have one Rajdeep for CM candidate.
Dekho, aisa hai, just having the right surname doesn't mean that you can become CM of Goa. I am very happy.
At least now. He's got the right namaste.
Namaste. This is the way to do it. Namaste.
When we were at the Panchayat event in Goa, a lot of the MLAs or ministers who came up and the local population also there, you should come, Rajdeep, to go. Rajdeep is also thinking at the back of his head, not bad. Waking up early in the morning, coming doing these television shows is a good option.
Not at all.
The fish,
I want to sit. I like the beach, I like the sea. But let's move on. Plenty more to look forward to.
Pankaj Upadhyay in Punjab. Let's just go across to him this morning. Pankaj, good morning. It's too early for Feni, no football match either, but there's a political football going on, and give our viewers a sense of what's happening in different camps when it comes to resort politics in Goa, Pankaj.
Good morning, Rahul. Good morning, Rajdeep. So as we've always been saying, everything is good about Goa, but then politics is always messy. So before we could get in some trends, some results, all the potential leaders, the captains, potential captains here are remembering God right now. The political parties are conducting pujas right now. A few moments back, I had a word with leader of opposition, Digambar Kamath, and he says he's conducting puja right now. A few moments back, Dr. Pramod Sawant was here, right outside the BJP office. So he has also conducted a puja here. He's taken several rounds of this small temple here. And after that, he says that he's confident that BJP is going to form the government on its own and that they are going to get the majority as well. Interestingly, yesterday, I met Congress's star candidate, Michael Lobo as well. Yes, Rajdeep.
No, Pankaj, there is only one God in Goa at election time. Sabse bada rupaya. Na baap rahe na bhaiya. Whole thing is that ke maiya sabse bada rupaya. That is the nature of Goa politics. They're all in resorts.
Pankaj managed to, while covering the political football, get a bit of a workout himself this morning. He's huffing and puffing, just chasing these netas.
If you want a future sort of venture in Goa, start a resort for politicians at election time. It is always profitable. They've gone across Goa. They moved now from Bambolim to Madgaon. But let's move away from Goa. We'll come to you, Pankaj, and find out who God is blessing in this election in Punjab. Let's move on to other states, and particularly the critical state. Let's go back. You can see Harish Rawat there.
73-year-old. He's been chief minister from 2014 to 2017. He was busy trying to play political football for the Congress in Punjab, and he should really been focusing on his own state. He has credibility, goodwill, ground presence, and connect with voters in the state. The question is, does he have the machine to translate anti-incumbency into victory? If the Congress has a hope of doing well or coming close to power today, it is in Uttarakhand, where if they'd fought a smarter campaign, made him in charge much earlier, they could potentially have done better.
Look at it. Axis My India poll says he's the most popular candidate for chief minister, but he spent most of his last 1 year firefighting in Punjab. I mean, of all the bizarre things that the Congress tends to do, this could sort of be right there at the top. Your most popular face in Uttarakhand spends all his time in Punjab.
And you try and undercut him.
And he didn't want to contest.
And everyone else,
you know what? He
circling him, coming in like sharp.
That's right. He told me he didn't want to contest because he feared that if he had to contest, his rivals within the Congress would try and defeat him in his constituency and he would lose out on chief ministership. This is the nature of the Congress.
Bahadur Shah Zafar, it's the same thing. You make mistakes, it's obvious as day that those are mistakes, but you keep making mistake after mistake after mistake. This is not very complicated political science. You don't need to go to Berkeley to figure this out. It's obvious as day if the man who can lead you to power in a state like Uttarakhand is busy trying to play political manager in Punjab, it's not good election management. It's not complex. You're not running a multiple variable regression over here. It's very, very simple that this is not good politics.
That's going to be the tough, it will be a tough call which way Uttarakhand goes. But if the Congress loses, that will be a big, big setback to the Congress. That despite a state where every 5 years the government has changed over the last 20 years, if you can't beat back anti-incumbency in Uttarakhand. Sorry?
With BJP creating a mess for itself by changing...
By 3 chiefs.
By having